Chapter 1, about 1 month earlier. Over the years, I've discovered that life doesn't really agree with me. Like a bad case of herpes, this existence just keeps bringing me back to old mistakes and bad decisions. Not that I have herpes, really. I just can't understand the greater purpose and meaning of it all. At one point, a few years ago, I thought I had it all. Pretty girl, good job, nice apartment, bright future. Turns out I had nothing. So what do you do when your future disintegrates right in front of you and everything you thought that was important turns out to be another bad herpes flare-up? I think I need to find a new analogy. Well, if you're me, you quit it all and get a gig at a preppy coffee shop in the corner of a busy street. Yeah, I have a master's degree in chemistry from the University of Minnesota that I use to wait tables and play piano for a bunch of preppy rich kids that think their life has meaning just because their shoes cost more than my monthly rent. Whatever. Just wait till their flare-up occurs. Anyway, Tuesdays are usually good days at Obnoxious Joe's Coffee Cafe. The Monday rush is when people are overwhelmed with the week-long drudgery in front of them, combined with the remnants of their poor weekend decisions. By Tuesday, everyone has accepted the general apathy of their role in life's routine. Nothing to do but continue on the same things they did yesterday or last week or next week. Time blurs as the past becomes indistinguishable from the future, except for hairstyles maybe. They actually sit for a spell and listen to my music, throw a tip in the jar, maybe a request. I have a few regulars, like Mrs. Giovanni. Nice old lady who always gives me a scowl when she hears me playing anything undignified, like anything from the last 50 years. "Finn, your music is as bad as this coffee," she'd say. So I brushed up on my Busoni, and she sits next to me on my bench and gently waves her hand like she's conducting, like she is creating the music from thin air. I saw her cry once, actually. No one ever cried in the chemistry lab, except when I spilled the mercaptoethanol. Ooh, baby, that was tear-inducing. No one ever cried in the boardroom, even after the best presentation of my life. My boss almost cried when I told her I was quitting, but that was more about panic than actual true emotion and passion. Yeah, I was a damn good chemist. Was. Life's not about chemistry, at least not for me. Life has something to do with the 50 cents Mrs. Giovanni puts in my tip jar on Tuesdays. Today was ushering in like most of the rest, and the sun heated the piano keys as I played. The sun is bad for the piano tune and finish, but good for the piano player. Something about playing piano with warm keys is inviting, smooth. Mrs. Giovanni was late, and the morning rush was over. A few college kids lingered before their classes were to start. That's one great thing about coffee shops like Obnoxious Joe's. Everyone fits in the same. Construction workers in overalls and neon reflective vests wait in line behind the slender businesswoman in 4-inch heels, who is behind the punk college kid in the hoodie who won't take off the earphones. My job is to make everyone feel like they belong. I'll chat with anyone, and I'm yet to find someone who doesn't have a favorite group or song that makes them push the pause button on the routine of life. Occasionally I'll need to do a little research, like I did for Busoni. My favorite part of the job is when I can make someone pause unexpectedly. Yesterday, Monday, a 20-something girl dressed in goth came in and asked if I knew any real music. I casually blended my rendition of James Taylor's Steamroller into Friday I'm in Love by The Cure. My repertoire of goth bands is somewhat limited. She gave me a half smirk out of the corner of her mouth. "Nice try, piano man. I didn't expect you to know anything I'd like." "Like what? Try me, heavy eye makeup girl. Oh yeah, I can be a little impertinent sometimes too. That happens when you realize that everything you were told was important turns out to be a lie." That smirk grew into a full smile. "Okay, let's hear some Alien Sex Fiend." Wasn't that where Kenny G got his start?" I said with a smile as I repeated the Cure refrain for the third time. "Tell you what, come back tomorrow and I'll play you some Alien Sex Fiend." She started to turn away and glanced back at me over her leather-clad shoulder. "That'll be worth coming back for. The coffee is a little, obnoxious?" "Yeah, that's what we do here. See you tomorrow, Miss..." "Tiffany." And that is how you grow business with a terrible product. Yes, the coffee sucked. Nothing I could do about that. Old Mama Joe was in charge of the coffee, and she made it just like her mother did back in the motherland, which I think was Detroit, but whatever. People came back because they were different, and they felt like they belonged here. Mama Joe knew every person that came through the door. What she lacked in coffee brewing capability, she made up for with raw personal skill. She remembered every person's name that came through the door more than once. Some people are just like that. I can't barely remember my own name most days. There is something powerful in today's impersonal world about hearing your name spoken aloud. I'm convinced that people came in just to hear someone say their name with a little enthusiasm and a smile. Since I started playing here last year, business had more than doubled. Good to her word, Tiffany returned on schedule, and I was ready for her, practicing 2 songs till the wee hours of the morning. I abruptly cut off a half-hearted Elton John song and shifted into a discorded Ignore the Machine. She skipped the coffee and came right to me. Her smile gave away some of the beauty behind the dark eye makeup. Now that's real music, she smiled as I slid over on the bench so she could join me. Did I mention I can be quite a player? And not just on the piano. She sat tentatively on the bench facing the opposite direction. I stole a few glances her way and caught her looking right at me. I'm very shy for a goth chick. She was also wearing quite the outfit. Too bad I had to focus so intently on the song. Her low-cut black tank top showed off the full tattoos covering her shoulders. Not that I was overly concerned with her shoulders at the moment. Plus, her short leather skirt and fishnet stockings made concentrating a little difficult. After flubbing the refrain a few times, she laughed and leaned to me and said with a smile, "Thanks, piano man. I can't remember the last time someone did something just for me. You got a name?" "Finn Rourke. Or piano man is fine, though I doubt I'd get mistaken for Billy Joel." I shifted the genre to something more applicable to the other 99.9% of the population. Started some slow Bach. Classical music is a good fit for Tuesday, serious, reserved, and a little sad. "About time you stopped making that horrible noise," came a voice from behind me. "You aren't cheating on me, are you, Finn?" I heard Tiffany chuckle and elbow me in the side. "Mrs. Giovanni, you are most undeniably irreplaceable," I said loud enough for half the room to hear. "Move it, Tootsie. You're in my seat," she said to Tiffany. "Do I have to start wearing my fishnet stockings to get some real attention around here?" She was raising her voice, and a few people started laughing. Tiffany got up and kindly gestured for her to sit. I was almost convulsing from the intense concentration of playing a difficult Bach song while the image of an 87-year-old in sexy stockings and a leather skirt kept popping into my mind. Looking over, Tiffany leaned against the side of the piano so the sun fully lit her face. Like most people who go goth, she was hiding something behind all those layers of makeup and intricate tattoos. The sunlight made her infinitely more beautiful. I felt a sharp stab in the ribs when Mrs. Giovanni decided I was not dedicating enough attention exclusively to her. Clearly, I was going to have to work for my 50 cents today. Closing my eyes, I focused entirely on the song. I didn't even notice when Mrs. Giovanni rested her head against my shoulder, as she sometimes did. Nothing like a possessive octogenarian groupie. The last note of the song held for several seconds, and I opened my eyes. Tiffany was still leaning against the back of the piano with her eyes closed. "How about some caffeine for the piano man?" I said, and carefully stood up. Mrs. Giovanni just smiled down at her coffee. "I'll be back in a second," I said half to her, but mostly to the long legs and tattoos behind her. I got my coffee and added the requisite creamer, sweetener, and flavoring. I sipped a little and winced slightly, almost palatable. Mrs. Giovanni and Tiffany were deep in conversation. Talk about contrasting imagery. "So you come here for the great piano playing," Tiffany was saying to the old lady she had just met. "There's no way you come for the coffee." Mrs. Giovanni smiled and looked back down at the last bit of coffee in her cup. "Actually, I think there's something about the coffee that has healing properties like magic." Both Tiffany and I waited for her to explain a little more. The only thing I thought was magical about the coffee was its ability to strip the varnish off the piano. Seriously. "I was quite sick
a little while ago," she continued, "and I had to start going to the doctor across the street every Tuesday. I was always so nervous that I started coming here early, sometimes more than an hour early, and I would just hang out, have some coffee before my appointment."
She had not shared any of this with me. Strange that she chose to share it now with a stranger, just because she was asking. But am I really any more than a stranger? Just because I plunked some keys and made her pause a few times? I guess I felt like more than a stranger, though. My hands automatically moved over the keys, and one of my standard elevator music songs came out. There were some basic songs that I had played so many times over the years that it was literally 100% muscle memory at this point.
"What were you sick with?" Tiffany asked.
I guess when you hide behind 3 pounds of makeup, cover your shoulders and arms with tattoos of skulls, crucifixes, and flames, and have a purple strand of dyed hair, you get to be blunter than the rest of us.
"Well, I was sick with cancer. Was. After a few treatments, the doctor stopped. He said the tumor was shrinking so fast that he was convinced there was something else going on. So for the next 6 weeks, he just ran more and more tests, trying to figure out why the tumor was shrinking on its own. He asked what I had changed about my diet before I started seeing him, and literally the only thing I changed was Mama Joe's coffee. Now, coffee is my magical elixir. I've had 1 cup a week for the last 4 months, and I feel like a new person. Well, maybe like a youngster in their 70s anyway. Good thing that I don't need 2 cups, because I'd probably say it wasn't worth it."
We both laughed, and she pounded the last bit of her cup. I'd seen Mama Joe make the coffee, nothing special going on there. Of course, she mixed 3 different brands, saying that it was her secret recipe. Truth was, she was cheap and didn't serve the good stuff straight. She mixed in the cheap generic brands. The old lady suddenly hopped to her feet and gave me a quick peck on the top of the head like an adoring grandmother. Looking back at her, I saw her give Tiffany a quick wink, and she walked back to the counter to return her mug.
"See you next week, Mama Joe,"
she said, and she walked out. I looked back and saw Tiffany staring at me with her smirk.
"I better get some coffee," she said,
and got up to get her own cup of elixir. A few notes got missed as I twisted in my seat to watch her walk away. Smooth, real smooth, Captain Discreet. Totally worth it, though. When she came back, she retook her place on the bench beside me.
"What do you think, Finn? Magic coffee?"
I laughed a little and saw her wince as she took another bitter sip. Who knows? Could be the coffee, or could be a virus she picked up from riding public transportation to this side of town. Maybe I've figured out how to play the right combination of harmonic frequencies on the piano to cancel the growth pattern of the cancer cells. She raised an eyebrow, considering my crazy logic. Or maybe it's the fact that she used to smoke a pack a day and quit when she started coughing up blood. As much as I wanted to encourage the idea that magic and miracles were all around us, I knew better. Everything can be explained if you know all the variables. Chemistry taught me that. And you never know all the variables. Never. Sure, you can control the main variables to get a fairly repeatable pattern of results, but all scientists know that small, uncontrolled variables can have massive impacts on the results. Considering that every person is uniquely different, there are almost an infinite number of variables within every person that cannot be controlled. That's why one person gets better and another gets worse when given the same treatment.
"Sounds like you don't believe it could have been a miracle that a woman in her mid-80s dramatically beat cancer. You must be one of those science first types."
Deep breath, Finn. Too easy to get goaded into this type of argument, especially when you don't really care. Let's put it this way, Tiff. Can I call you Tiff?
No.
Okay, Tiff. I believe that everything that happens. If the temperature drops to a certain point, we get snow, not rain. It doesn't mean anything. If an engine fails on a plane, the plane crashes. It doesn't crash because everyone deserved to die or because they had all simultaneously completed their mission in this life. Planes crash because they do. Drunk drivers run over people, druggies overdose, and innocent people get mugged and killed every day. Not because they deserve it or because some cosmic force is working against them, but because shit just happens. I realized that I was raising my voice, trying to talk over the ever-increasing volume of the piano. Deep breath, Finn. Now, if some old lady, I went on in a lower voice, wants to believe that some miraculous coffee saved her or the eternal purpose for her life has yet to be fulfilled, so what? Good for her. She's not hurting me. I'm sure the fact that she quit smoking after 50 years has nothing to do with it. I not so smoothly blended the song into an acoustic AC/DC song. Hey, I've got no restrictions for the music venue. Might as well play the appropriate music for the scene unfolding. Well, she said after a few minutes, at least you're partially right. And she got up to leave. Any chance you might become a regular here? Might as well try to recover my charm after showing a little of my bullheaded asshole side a minute earlier. Maybe. I'm actually looking for someone, and you're definitely not him. Wow. That's got to be some kind of record for rejection. Ah, yes, my one true passion and skill in life, female rejection. I like to call it catch and release courting. I can hook 'em, reel 'em in like nobody's business. Then they inevitably ask me a deeper question, or they get religious, and it's like I just told them about my latest herpes flare-up. I've actually heard tires screeching as they drove away. She walked out without another word, got to the street, and pulled out her cell. After an 8-second conversation and a scowl at the phone, she walked off without a look back.